Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a truly fascinating statistical paradox about the shifting religious landscape right here in the US. You know, if you scroll through social media or catch the evening news, you'd probably think you already know exactly what's happening to religion in America. But, as we're about to see, the raw data tells a drastically different story than the popular secular narrative.
Christianity is collapsing in the United States. I mean, you see variations of this literally everywhere, right? It's this widely accepted cultural and media narrative that hits the headlines constantly, claiming the Christian faith in America is rapidly dying, disappearing, or just completely evaporating. It's kind of become this common sense assumption in modern cultural commentary.
Okay, let's dive into this, because we really have to ask ourselves, is that what the data actually says? Today, we're going to put aside the ideological arguments, bypass all those emotional debates, and take a strictly impartial, data-driven look at the actual numbers. Because, let me tell you, when we do, a massive mathematical paradox emerges that turns this whole narrative completely upside down.
Section 1. The popular decline narrative.
So we need to acknowledge the specific statistic that fuels this whole story, right? Because the media isn't just pulling numbers out of thin air. Back in 1976, Christianity's proportional share of the U.S. population was sitting at a massive 91%. Fast forward to 2022, and that slice of the pie has shrunk to 64%. It's a stark, undeniable drop. And honestly, when you look at these percentages in total isolation, the collapse narrative seems absolutely correct. A nearly 30-point drop in market share, yeah, that looks like a total freefall.
Section 2. The math behind the myth.
All right, this is where the plot twist happens. So the crucial point is that a significant percentage decline does not equate to an absolute numerical decline. This right here is the absolute heart of our statistical paradox. To genuinely understand a demographic shift like this, you can't just look at the slice of the pie. You literally have to look at the total size of the pie. We have to separate a proportional share from absolute growth.
Let's actually look at the underlying math. Back in 1976, the total U.S. population was roughly 221 million people. So, 91% of that gives us an absolute Christian population of 201.26 million. Now, check out the second row. By 2022, the total U.S. population had absolutely exploded to over 333 million people. When you take that lower 64% share and apply it to this much, much larger total population, you get 213.29 million. Do the subtraction, and you get an absolute increase of 12.03 million Christians. Think about that for a second. Despite a massive drop in the percentage share, the actual number of Christians in the United States has grown by over 12 million people. Mathematically, the idea that the religion is vanishing or collapsing is just factually incorrect. The U.S. actually has more Christians today than it did in 1976, not fewer. Absolutely wild, right?
Let's compare these two statements side by side. The popular media narrative tells us Christianity is dying, but the data-driven reality? It says, Christianity is stabilizing in absolute numbers while the total population grows faster. The numbers clearly show a redistribution and a stabilization. The overall U.S. population simply grew at a much faster rate than the Christian population did. So yeah, that shrinks the percentage, but the absolute numbers? They never evaporated, not at all.
Section 3. Drivers of the decline story.
Now, what's really interesting about this is trying to figure out why. If the absolute numbers are actually growing, why on earth did the collapse narrative become so incredibly widespread? What's really happening beneath the surface? Well, a major factor is the knowns. You hear this term tossed around a lot, the rise of the religious knowns. These are folks who check no religion on census surveys. But when you do a deeper dive into the data, it reveals that many of these individuals actually still pray, they believe in God, or they identify as deeply spiritual. It basically indicates a rise in institutional distrust, a stepping away from the formal label of a specific church, rather than a total theological rejection or some massive spike in hard atheism.
Let's rapidly run through the real drivers of this shifting landscape. We've got the rise of the knowns we just talked about. We have cultural secularization and institutional distrust. We also have this fascinating phenomenon called generational delay, which is basically where young people are waiting much later in life to return to their faith traditions than previous generations ever did. And finally, media amplification. You know, de-churching stories just make for highly engaging headlines, which naturally skews public perception by highlighting the departures while completely ignoring the raw demographic math.
But here is the objective bottom line. While the culture is undeniably shifting and the way Americans engage with religion is absolutely evolving, none of these sociological factors actually equal Christianity disappearing. Institutional skepticism, sure, that's a very real sociological trend, but it is mathematically distinct from a belief system just vanishing from the country.
Section 4. The Real American Worldview. And this brilliantly illustrates our final point. When we strip away the percentages, look at the cold, hard math, and summarize the actual present-day landscape of American belief, Christianity objectively remains the largest worldview in the United States by a massive margin of tens of millions of people. It is not an ideology in freefall, guys. It's a resilient majority that is simply stabilized in a rapidly expanding, increasingly diverse country.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. How often do media narratives completely obscure the raw data right in front of us? I mean, we started this explainer with a headline claiming a massive collapse, and simply by looking at the total population growth, we uncovered an increase of over 12 million people. It's a really powerful reminder to always question the percentages you see in the news, look for the absolute numbers, and let the raw data tell the real story. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.